points. So I'm going to window to just this area here. I'm going to right click.
Basically, all it's doing is W blocking that stuff out and make it its own little temporary DWG file. So if you were to do this and then for some reason back out and exit all of this, it would lose that temporary DWG file it just made, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And then you can see once it brought it into the Point Manager application, here are our groups. You'll get a tab per group.
And if you pop down and look at the graphic view at the bottom, you can actually see what it looks like. So there's a list view and the graphic view. Just kind of make sure that you're orientated correctly, because this is how it's going to end up on the data collector.
Okay. And now it's pretty simple. We can go export. We want to go to a Topcon file. Since we're using TDL, the best thing to do is obviously make a MJF zip file. So we're going to hit to Topcon, and now we have our options here. We want to do a Topcon Field job package, which is the MJF zip file. We're going to go next. You can see, obviously, we can select or deselect whatever it is we want or we don't want, for that matter, right? In this case, we want all. We're going to go next. If we had control points in here, we can actually select a particular group or our control points, but we don't have any in there. And then here we want to, obviously, we need to browse where we want this file to go. We want it to include. So I want to make sure that I do select my area, my file structure here. It defaults to our Point Manager, but in this case, I'm going to try to keep it with the job. Okay. And
name it whatever you want.
Yep. So we'll go topo, let's go over PM. Just keep it as consistent with the job itself. Okay. And then now that it saved it, I now have the option to export. We want to make sure we want to include our background file, and we're going to hit export.
Are you familiar with anything that would fail the export? I was messing around with it one time, and I kept trying to export a set of points and stuff with a background, and it just kept failing. It wouldn't. I don't think I was ever able to get it to actually export successfully.
So depending on the background file, so basically what this is trying to do is it knows the files, it has the files, and it's going into a converter, right? It's going to make these files compatible with Magnet or TDL. If that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So it's converting these things. So if that drawing contained anything weird, it might not let it convert and might error out. So things that are weird to our viewer on the data collector side or TDL are, extreme hatching. If you've got a drawing in here with a bunch of hatch, I usually delete all hatches out of all of my drawings because they're unnecessary and they take up a heck of a lot of space, right? They make the files huge.
Yeah.
If there's a bunch of XREFs, that might confuse it. If there's bound XREFs, because whenever you bind an XREF, if you ever go in and look at the layer names that created after you bound that XREF,
It's always just a bunch of random characters.
like it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it makes a character that's not compatible.
Yeah.
Right. So that's why we try to clean up the backgrounds, and I've been dealing this for years, and it doesn't, it's just Autodesk does weird things. And not everybody can keep up with everything weird that Autodesk comes up with.
Yeah.
So it's just basically cleaning that file up. And then sometimes if you're really having a problem, it's like get rid of the XREFs, get rid of the hatching, clean that drawing first, do a purge, an overkill. If you didn't know where that drawing came from, it's always probably good to do an overkill. And what the overkill does is it deletes all of the repeated stacked up items,
Mm-hmm.
which makes it easier to put points on. Also, if you do an overkill before you start trying to place points, because sometimes we would get DWGs and they've stacked like blocks on top of blocks, and what one line of a wall might look like there's 14 lines stacked on top of each other.
Mm-hmm.
So the overkill command kills a lot of that stuff, shrinks the file down to a more manageable size, and then hopefully eliminates some of the errors that we might get from trying to convert the file over, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And if you're just running into something that just won't work, obviously, contact Nick. If Nick can't answer it, he can send it to us. We can take a look at it. If it's something that the software is just not crashing, then we send that to our project engineers. And they look at it and see if it's something in the software that we need to fix, things like that. So obviously let us know.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Because knowing is half the battle.
Yeah.
So if you guys got like 4 more minutes, we can have Preston pop open TDL and import this MJF zip in.
Yeah, sure.
If you want.
Yep. So we'll go ahead and click that. And here's TDL. Just minimize some of this stuff here, make it look better. So I went ahead and I created a project for Topo PM. I'm gonna click on that. I'm gonna go ahead and import our job. And
do you remember where we put it?
Yeah. Let's go one more.
So much easier on a data collector because there's so much stuff on it.
Here's our MJF that we just created. Open file. You can see that it brought in, if we look at this here, brought in one drawing with 39 points. Should be able to just click on that.
And there you are.
Another question. Have you ever run into an issue where you have all your points set up and you import it to the data collector, I guess is what you're calling it, and the points seem to be consistent, like all of them consistently higher or like, a certain distance off of the actual point you placed it? Are you familiar with an issue like that or anything that could cause that?
Did that come from a Revit file or?
No, it was AutoCAD. It was similar to this one, but I set up grid lines and stuff, and